with every aspect. We really deal with every aspect of the home and get into a lot of issues, you know, over the years that we've been dealing with real estate brokers and homeowners. The issues kind of come to us. You know, they always, you know, do you know someone who does this, or, you know, someone who does that, or what do I do if this happens? And over the years, from answering the questions, we've kind of gotten into the services that we think fit what we do well, and just learned a lot about the importance of a balanced home and all the elements of a home. So we're doing natural gas, we do oil, we do electricity, humidity, plumbing, air conditioning. So we've really diversified. And that's why I wanted to bring this panel today. What we feel when we talk to brokers, and this is an experience I've had with brokers my whole life, is, you know, you guys are really the resource for the customer. And, you know, it's like when you buy a car, you know, my wife personally really only cares about the cup holders, how many, but the salesman should know about a car. He should know if he's asked, you know, how many gears or how fast does it go. He should know. He should understand the questions. So most of the recommendations I've gotten from my real estate brokers over the years, I still use to this very day. So people trust your opinions, and you should have your general knowledge of what a house is about and what issues you can confront. Sometimes you'll walk in a basement and it may break a deal, or walk in a house because it may have an odor or mildew or something going on in the air, and it could be a very simple fix. So we assembled a panel today of some real experts that should give you a great education on what we're talking about, why it's important to know these systems in a house and how they affect the sale of a house, the condition of a house, and of course our own personal health. So we have Chris Howells, who's an expert from the company April Air, who's one we do a lot of business with. We feel they're the best company in this space, makes the best products for this space. We have Jason Shishiano from the insurance industry, who's going to explain to you how these things can end up costing money and loss of valuables if they're not paid attention to. And then, of course, we have Ralph Hvac, who's a home inspector who, you know, sees these things every day, sees the effects they have on buyers and sellers, but more importantly, really understands the science of these things and can help you understand why this is an important seminar. So not to make it go any further, let me pass it over to Chris, and because I hope there's going to be a lot of questions at the end. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you, David. We really appreciate the opportunity. As we jump into this in talking about the importance of indoor air quality and all the attributes that really come together in a home, and specifically on the real estate transaction, we're really excited. You can see my information, my role with the company, and I will, as most of you have met Megan and her puppy. She's our channel marketing manager. So we're here to tag team it today for you, give you some great information about the home and what we look at when we think about this term indoor air quality. We've all probably heard it, we've seen it, maybe we know the acronym IAQ, but what does that really mean when we're starting to look from the home buyer's perspective? So just a quick introduction to who April Air is, what our mission and what our vision is. And it's super simple. We simply believe everybody deserves healthy air. And some of the things that we're going to get into, you're going to see that when we spend as much time as we do indoors, it is so important that we understand what we're putting into our body tens of thousands of times a day, by the way. So our vision is simple: healthy air in every home. And then aligning that with the mission in enhancing people's health by improving their indoor air quality. All of our products are designed, engineered, and made in Wisconsin. So we're a true made in the USA company, and we're super proud of that. And we really value the partnership with our contractors, our customers, and folks like you that are taking time out of your day to sit through, educate yourself so you can better others. And we do really appreciate that. So let's look at this And we think about when we're profiling one of our customers and we ask, you know, what do you look for in a home? And they're going to probably give you a list of check marks that they have to obtain. And you could probably fill in more check marks than I even put there. But being an HGTV nerd like I am, those are some things that always pop up when you're thinking about what are you looking for in your next home? I need aesthetics. I need a specific location. I want to be in a school district. I have a budget. I want all the bells and the whistles. I don't want all the bells and the whistles. I want to be able to use my my capabilities at improving a home. With all that said, here's the challenge question that I have for you this morning. How often, if ever, is the topic of the quality of air in a home brought up? Is that a concern for the customer, the potential buyer, of what about the quality of air that's in your home that your family is going to breathe every day? And this could be a simple question, additional question that you can ask of, do you have concerns about the comfort, the efficiency of a home? Do you care about the quality of air that you and your family are going to be breathing? Does anybody suffer from allergies, asthma, breathing problems? Because what that's going to do is that's going to help you know, if you look at a home prior, that, hey, this is going to fit from all those things that we checked off, but also from maybe a concern that they have. The reality is facts are very stubborn. Facts are stubborn because if we were to put a family in a home and they were to sit there and blow balloons up every day, and they would blow a balloon up and they release that air, blow a balloon up, release that air over and over, they would probably exhaust their air over 20,000 times a day. And if you think about that, that cannot be healthy for the quality of air, right? Some other facts. The EPA has stated that the indoor air can be 5 times more polluted than the air that's simply right outside our walls and our doors. So it's important when we start to think about the attributes of a home that we understand what's in the home. And is the quality of air a detriment to human health and comfort? I'm going to throw these numbers at you: 79, 70, and 50. I want you to remember those because the average person lives 79 years. Of those 79 years, 70 years of them are spent indoors. And then 50% of those 70 years are spent in our own homes. So when we think about that, we need to breathe healthy air in our homes. And I know this is a breakfast, and I apologize. I'll try to keep the nastiness down of the quality of air. But truthfully, when we think about what's in the air that we breathe, there could be over 30 million pollutants in 1 cubic foot of air. And those things could be mold spores, they could be dust, they could be allergens. There's a lot of different things that could be releasing those triggers of allergies and asthma. And when we think about our families, we might be doing things on a daily basis to make our bodies healthier. We might do things like eat a balanced diet, drink more water, get out and exercise, get a good night rest and sleep. And by the way, all fantastic things to do for our human health, but they also bring another layer of defense against unhealthy polluted air that's in a home. So we need to take care of us first, and then we need to start thinking about the environment, because when we spend upwards of 90+% of our times indoors, and you saw that on that 79, 70, and 50, it is super important that we understand the environment that we are putting around our bodies. So a little challenge this morning for you. From an aesthetic standpoint, this house might meet exactly what your homeowners are looking for. It's got the curb appeal. It's got all the things that they wanted. It's got that corner lot you can kind of see there. This is really great. But let's take a walk inside, because when we walk inside, does it fit the bill of what they're looking for? But with those concerns and those added questions about the health or the comfort or the efficiency, just because we can't see things doesn't mean that they don't exist. Things like VOCs, which are a volatile organic compound. Essentially, it's chemical off-gassing. We oftentimes walk into a home and you can tell the home is freshly painted. It had a new carpet put down. Those are all chemical off-gassing that's occurring in a home. And by the way, those things are unhealthy. They might smell good because it gives you that comfort, but know that from a health standpoint that that's not great for our human body. We've got things like pollen in the air, viruses, pet dander, bacteria, carbon dioxide. Remember I mentioned the balloons. If you blow up a balloon and you exhaust it, you're exhausting carbon dioxide. And one of the things that we have to be concerned about today with people spending more time indoors is the elevation in carbon dioxide measurements. And there's a key pillar to the indoor air quality sector that Robinson can help you all with in educating your customers, and that's fresh air ventilation. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So what are the sources of unhealthy, sick air or pollutants in a home? Well, these are a list directly from the EPA's, the Environmental Protection Agency's website. I highlighted a few of the key ones because these are going to be the factors that we see. Those VOCs, the chemical off-gassing, excessive moisture. And I want you to think about the times when you walk that client down into a basement and you start to feel that temperature change. It starts to get a little colder. It gets sticky or damp, and it might even be musty. Well, technically, by the book, that's an excessive moisture characteristic that is a pollutant to that home. And we know things are going to thrive when there's a dark area and there's high moisture content. Particulate matter. This is something with the pandemic season that we're all, I guess, still in, for a lack of a better term, that the industry has continued to tell us we should do two things really well. We should provide fresh air to a home. And secondly, we should filter at a high efficiency rate. That high efficient filtration helps reduce particulate matter. And when we think about dust and all those little things in the sunbeams that we can see, we want to be able to capture those at a high efficient rate. But not only the things that we can see, the more important is the things that we can't see. What are some signs of poor indoor air quality? Well, we're able to use our human senses as a way of measuring poor indoor air quality without really having to know the technical measurements that we're trying to achieve. You might walk into a home and you kind of get that uncomfortable feeling. Remember that damp stickiness that I was telling you about. Our eyes might start watering or itching really bad because there's something in the air that is triggering that, that indoor air quality negative repercussion. I might hear some things, maybe us dripping, and I can see that ceiling tile being a problem. I might get that odor or that smell that David mentioned earlier. So the great thing is we have the capability of sensing it, but we really need to understand what the repercussions are of poor indoor air quality in a home. I've kind of got three pillars here. I've got a poor filtration and airflow. So I'll start on the left side for y'all. And when we look at this industry, the heating and air conditioning industry, oftentimes to meet a minimum code, you'll see a 1-inch pleated filter in there or a 1-inch fiberglass filter, which is that blue filter. Well, the 1-inch fiberglass filter doesn't really provide any kind of protection to the equipment, and it definitely doesn't do anything for the homeowner's health. So oftentimes consumers will go to a big box store and they will upgrade that 1-inch filter to maybe a 1-inch pleated filter. Now, the good news is they might be capturing more of those smaller particulates that we can't see. However, the bad news is, and why I have airflow with an asterisk, is when you take that fiberglass filter out and you put that 1-inch filter in, you've actually just changed the air dynamics of the system. And this will cause stress to the HVAC equipment. This will cause premature equipment failure and high energy usage from the equipment. So really what we need to start doing is looking at filtration from a different lens of we need to adequately provide the airflow the system requires to work, but then we also need to be able to filter it efficiently so it's impacting our health in a good way. Excessive moisture. Things that we can see or smell, right? We might see those little growth, microbial growth going on in an area, and we know instantly that there's a high moisture problem. We might be seeing cupping of the wood floor, and that tells you that below that floor, there's excessive moisture. By the way, moist air or humid air is 3 times lighter than dry air, and it rises through a home. So whatever's underneath is rising up and impacting the living space as well. Air that's too dry. Now, adversely to the cupping or expanding of the wood, now we've got shrinking of the wood and cracking. Wood is hydroscopic. It's like a sponge. It'll absorb and reject moisture. A really quick, easy way to identify if you've got air that is too dry in a home, simply electricity shock, right? You go to open that door, turn the light switch on, you get shocked. That's a quick indication that you have too dry of air in a home. I also like to put the plant analogy in there, or even a fish tank, because both of these things become great humidifiers in the winter months when the air is too dry. If the air is too dry, a plant, if you water it every day, a fish tank that's in a home becomes a very relevant humidifier to a point. So those are things to keep our eyes out for. So what's the effect from us as humans? Well, if we don't have great filtration, we become a filter. If it makes it through the HVAC equipment all the way up, we become the filter. So that causes upper respiratory problems. In fact, 94% of respiratory problems are actually caused by poor polluted indoor air. Excessive moisture, dust mites. Dust mites thrive, and all those other insects at the bottom there thrive with high humidity in a home. So if we remove the moisture or reduce the moisture to an acceptable level, dust mites can no longer thrive, which, by the way, are one of the biggest triggers to asthma sufferers. And the bugs won't survive. They need that moisture. A lot of them can't physically drink water. They absorb the water based on the pressure of the home. So if we remove the pressure, they can't drink. So they're either going to die or they're going to move on to somewhere where they'll survive. There is something that is called mold toxicity. And it kind of goes back into, if we're not feeling good in our own home, what is causing the problem? Is it just our bodies aren't feeling good? Did we catch a cold somewhere? Or could it really be the effects of the home? And if you look at the list of mold symptoms, mold toxicity systems, a lot of them are very consistent with things that we might feel when we just feel that we're not feeling well. So the environment goes back to the environment then in our house. So we want to be able to measure this and test this and provide the best solution for you. And I know Robeson can help you all with that, helping and educating your customers. And finally, the air is too dry. Listen, we know that bloody noses, dry, itchy skin, colds and flus and viruses thrive with dry air. They're just able to be airborne much longer than they would be if you have humid air. So what's the answer? Quickly, just giving you guys some overviews. We need to provide high efficient filtration, so we're allowing adequate airflow through the equipment for maximum efficiency and performance, but we also need to be able to capture those small particulate matter for you and I to be comfortable and healthy. We need to provide a professional level dehumidification system. These little portable units that are in Home Depots, Lowe's, and Walmarts and all that, they have a job, but they have a very small job. And they're not going to have the impact of the whole house or even the cubic volume of the basement. So we want to offer the level of dehumidification to the whole home to meet the expectation of what we're creating in that home. And then professional level humidification, very similarly to what I just described with dehumidification. Portable humidifiers are great because it's that spot, it's right next to my bed, it's hitting me right now, but it's such a small area that it creates. As soon as I get up and walk out of that room, I'm right back to potentially a dry zone in my house where we want to create that through the whole home. So you might ask, and I get this all the time, even from contractors today, what is the best humidity level? Well, it's subjective to the season. I can't tell you the magic number is this percentage and you're done. Because if we have too much or too less humidity, then we're gonna have issues with the problem of being able to maintain that moisture. So you can see its seasonality from the aspect of what triggers the indoor air pollutants. The guys at Robeson can teach you through this. They can encourage the right solution based on that level. And then lastly, with fresh air ventilation, as I mentioned, there's really not much new. In fact, I was doing some study on this topic recently, and this goes back to the H1N1 Spanish flu of the 1918s and the season of the COVID-19 virus that we were all in. What did they tell you to do? They told you to mask up, use good hygiene, and get fresh air. Well, that was what happened back in the 1900s. And we need to be able to do that in our homes today. We need to be able to provide a solution to replace the air, but we need to do it in a manner that is controlled, that is limited, and that is filtered. So we're providing the best quality of air in a home. Giving the home a good set of lungs is another way I've classified ventilation. So really, in kind of wrapping everything up with a bow here for you, when you look at what's been proven to work in the HVAC industry, it's what's called ASHRAE standard codes. And the products you see on the screen there encompasses the complete healthy air system and all the attributes that has been proven to meet a specific standard in a home. So I encourage you, as I leave you with 8 basic benefits of healthy air in a home, that when you're walking through, understand your clientele's needs and desires for not only the aesthetics and everything else, but also the environment that they're in. And if there's any questions, any points of knowledge that we need to extrapolate and get more detail on, we are more than happy to help you all through that. Because when you look at these 8 basic benefits, there's some really, really good healthy attributes that we've added to a home and the value of the home, and that's easily sellable to your customers. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to the team. We appreciate your attention this morning.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I'm going to, this is Ralph. I'm going to now share my screen as well. I couldn't have asked for a better setup here. So thank you so much, Chris. Some of the pictures I'm going to show, though, may be a little less appetizing to some of the folks who may still be having breakfast, but I can't emphasize the importance of what Chris was just talking about in terms of the equipment, because as you'll see in some of the pictures and things that I'm going to show you soon, we often recommend this type of equipment because what the homeowner currently has is insufficient. And you'll see the impact of some of that. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. First of all, hopefully everybody can see my screen. I'm Ralph Hvac. I'm one of the owners of Empire Inspectors. My focus is primarily marketing, advertising, operations. I'm also licensed in New York and Connecticut. I'm a trustee of the Hudson Gateway Realtor Foundation, which we hope you all continue to support, as well as being a board member of the NARP Westchester chapter as their treasurer. Just a touch about who we are. We are a multi-inspector company. You may have seen us advertise quite a bit. We have over 200 plus Google and Facebook reviews. We're licensed in New York, Connecticut. We have a 24/7 call center, so you can book an inspection any time of day. We have Spanish-speaking inspectors, as well as everything being supervised by our certified master inspector. But one thing that makes us very unique is that we offer the highest level of protection for you and your buyers, as well as the sellers. We offer $100,000 in warranty protection free with every inspection we do. It is included in the price. There is no upsell for it. That covers things like your appliances. You have 5 years of roof leak protection. You'll have 1 full year of structural protection. And the biggest protection of all is we offer the buy your house back guarantee if we miss anything we shouldn't have. We do home and commercial. We do radon testing. We're licensed mold assessors, as well as licensed termite inspectors. We'll do pool inspection, sprinkler, infrared, as well as doing air and water testing at the inspection, should the clients ask that. Now that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about, because we're seeing more and more clients ask for air quality testing. So all the things that Chris was talking about are things that we want to get you guys ahead of when you're going through the real estate transaction, so you don't have to wait necessarily for that test results for something that you may have already been feeling, possible symptoms of, or that your client may has communicated things in advance. Whenever we're doing booking an inspection, we ask the client if they have any questions or concerns about the property. And then they ask us. This is where they segue into, do you offer air quality testing? We always talk about radon. That's a very pretty simple test and thing to figure out. But sometimes the air quality testing can be a little bit more challenging. What are some of the causes of that? Because a house has many, many contributing factors that can affect the air quality. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some things that can affect your transaction. Things like utilizing your senses, just as Chris had mentioned, maybe in some other ways as well, to get ahead of the problem, so you can avoid these surprises when we get there. Okay, a lot of the things that we find are deferred maintenance, and that's because the homeowner sometimes is just not aware of it. They're not aware of the proper maintenance schedule of things they're supposed to do, which is what we always communicate to a new buyer. But again, people sometimes have been in their homes for many, many years, and they don't go to the basement as often as they should, or check out things, or get that equipment serviced as regularly as they should be. So I'm going to show you some things that are the impact. These are real things that come as a result of not monitoring proper air quality, both from a toxicity level, but as also from a humidity level. So the first one, this is actually a real droopy fan. So it was a very sad fan. It was sad for the buyer too when we showed it to them. They weren't actually, didn't get a chance to see that part of the home when they did their walkthrough. This is an outdoor space, but it was an enclosed space that was not properly sealed off. So it allowed for excessive moisture to get in there. Other things that you can to get more of an obvious, more common view are things like the damaged flooring. More expensive impacts are things to like pianos. Now we don't report on pianos. This just happens to be one where you can see that the wood on the keys has started to expand, and now those keys are starting to stick. And one thing that we're going to talk about, or actually Jason will talk quite a bit more about on the insurance side, is often things, and at no fault of the homeowner, just they're not aware that certain problems that may have been existing for extended periods of time may not be covered by insurance. So if you wake up one day and your piano keys are sticking because the humidity level has been high for months and months and months, you may have a problem dealing with the claim. And again, I'm going to let Jason kind of focus on that and talk about that sort of stuff. But these are things that once we get in there and we bring this to the attention of the homeowners, they may not have the coverage they thought they did to cover these things, which is why it's always very, very important to consider your house. You want to give it an annual checkup like you give yourself, right? It's important to maintain the health of the home for not only the home's sake, but for your sake. And especially if you're ever thinking of selling that home to a new buyer, because they're going to have professionals like us come in and they're going to help find these problems. So we want to help you guys, the agents, get ahead of these things. So some of the causes, I know Chris showed you things about the filthy ducts, mold spores, clogged filters. These are things that we will put in our report. So now imagine this impact on a buyer that has now been looking at that beautiful blue house that Chris had shown up front. Okay, everything looked really incredible. All of a sudden, the home inspector comes in and now they're doing the thorough investigation. They're seeing mold spores on certain materials. The ducts may not have been properly maintained. And now that gets seated in that buyer's mind of saying, well, maybe the house, even though aesthetically it looks good, but maybe this homeowner does not properly maintain this, and maybe I have future problems I'm going to have to deal with. So get ahead of these things. If you're about to list this house, do a walkthrough, bring a professional like us to do a pre-inspection, or Robeson to just do a free evaluation of what's going on there. And they can help make recommendations and make corrections before you have buyers come in there. So this way those problems have been resolved and it's not something for them to be concerned about, okay? These are actual deferred maintenance problems. The first two specifically that have high levels of toxicity, and the last one, of course, gas leaks. Corroded flue pipes. Again, sometimes homeowners, they're not aware of what is going on down there. But when we come down there and we're looking at all the equipment and how it's properly attached or improperly attached, we see these types of holes and this type of erosion, as well as just connections coming loose over time. You won't even notice these things. CO2, it's odorless, it's tasteless. You don't know that you're breathing it in. All of a sudden, now you're introducing all this toxic air into the house. We do tend to find gas leaks, and we have the equipment to detect it. It's the bubbles, so you can kind of see on this right side here, this for this particular water heater. These are problems, again, by having your house annually maintained, having service contractors in there regularly to make sure that your equipment is properly running, as well as properly venting. will help you get ahead of a lot of problems, as well as make notice for the existing home buyer, the home seller. So there's nothing worse when we have to tell the agent, please inform the seller immediately that they have a gas leak in their basement that they have not been aware of. Then they got to call the gas company, they got to get in there. All of a sudden we're the hero, but this is not something that we should be doing. This is something that the homeowner should be aware of. We should not be the first person telling them that. And the way to get ahead of that is to get professionals like Robeson in there to make sure that the equipment is properly maintained, and they can do a walkthrough to see if there's other issues in the home, okay? Things that we always talk about. Water is the #1 enemy for homes, okay? We talk about diverting water away and anything that can contribute to moisture in a home, okay? Pipe condensation. This is going to continuously flow unless you wrap these pipes or do something about that. When they sweat, they cause condensation. That is a constant source of moisture. And what's right above that? Wood. Wood is not like moisture very much, okay? Mold does though, and mold will form on wood, and the main thing it needs to grow is water, okay? Food is everywhere for mold. It's dust, it's in the air, it's everywhere. But moisture is the trigger for it to grow. And that's why we always see quite a bit more mold focus in damp basements, which is why you want to get ahead of these types of problems and handle these things. Sometimes, and I don't have a picture, I was looking for one that we had a tiny, tiny little Home Depot dehumidifier covering over 3,000 square foot of basement space. I don't need to tell you the amount of mold that we found on the opposite corner of that. But basically, our recommendation was to contact Robeson to have a whole home dehumidification system put in, because now this home seller has to deal with this problem, and now it comes up in the middle of the negotiation, okay? These are the problems we want you guys to help avoid. Get in there ahead of time, do the walkthrough, even if you're in there with a buyer and you're walking through and they really love the house, but as soon as you get to the basement, you start feeling the itchiness, your eyes start to water. There may be something going on down there. So bring in the professionals ahead of time before you get too far down your negotiation process, and then now you may have a problem, okay? Condensation around ductwork. These are all contributors of things that happen there. So Chris talked about it. It's not only maintaining it that's gonna help improve the humidity as well as air quality, but also it's gonna improve the lifespan and the efficiency of your equipment. Things that are supposed to last 10, 15 years, you will see a significant lifespan cut off if the filters aren't properly changed, if it's not properly regulated. Some of these, I don't know if this video will play, but you can kind of see here, we have one of the HVAC systems, one of these lines here is not flowing and is literally blowing air all throughout the house. Homeowner, no idea that that was even there. Okay, so this is stuff that, again, you would not know unless you go down there or you have proper attention to this stuff. Sometimes these repairs can significantly reduce the impact of what those energy costs are. Like that sign of all that air blowing around in the basement. I mean, that is an immense amount of energy being wasted right there. Not only will improve the quality, but also when you have these types of service maintenance records, it is very, very good. It's a very big plus for a home buyer coming because they know that that home seller has taken care of the equipment and that the house they're buying has been given proper attention to in terms of making sure that it is properly maintained. That is the last slide I have for this part of the presentation. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jason. We'll talk more about some of these things and what may be covered and what may not, as well as a lot of other great information. Jason?
Jason, you have to unmute.
Yep. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thanks very much. I'm Jason Schijano. I'm co-president of Levitt First Insurance, and I'm going to talk to you about the insurance aspects relating to mold and indoor air quality. I'll warn you up front, I don't have any images that are as attractive as a up-close picture of pet dander. Insurance is not that exciting, so my presentation is more textually based. Just to give you a little bit of background on Levitt First, to explain why I'm speaking here today about this topic. We are Westchester's largest independent insurance broker. We were founded in 1969 with offices in Tarrytown, New York and Parsippany, New Jersey. We have a team of over 70 people in our office. We are a Chubb Cornerstone agent representing the top 3% of agents for Chubb across the country. And we're a leading broker for high value home insurance in Westchester and represent the top carriers for that type of insurance, including Chubb, AIG Pure, Cincinnati, Berkeley One, and Travelers. And our clients are owners of one or more homes or condo or co-op owners. We classify ourselves as a boutique insurance agency offering to protect your priorities. And your priorities, obviously, first and foremost for many people, is in fact the value of their home. And when there are losses or claims, damage, property damage to the home, obviously that's where many people look to insurance. As far as why insurance relating to mold is important relative to realtors, I think an understanding of insurance will help a realtor to advise the client on the importance of maintaining good indoor air quality, and also to explain the importance of a reputable broker, a quality insurance carrier, and a policy with broad coverages. You'll start to understand better as I go through my presentation why this is critical. So let's talk about mold and the risks associated with poor indoor air quality and humidity and old HVAC equipment, which Chris and Ralph have already explained the pitfalls of. First of all, with respect to property risks, obviously you've seen pictures of this. You can have damage to your home, wood flooring, carpet, cabinets, drywall, wood trim, molding, etc. Damage to your belongings. In insurance world, we call that contents. That could be your furniture, your clothing, your rugs, decorations, etc. Damage to your valuables. I think has already been mentioned the potential for damage to an expensive piece of musical instrument like a piano or a violin, artwork, furs, antiques, and collections in addition to musical instruments. And the costs, which haven't even been discussed, like if you're going to do a whole home mold remediation, you probably can't live in that house, or it's certainly not safe to live in that house for several days until after the mold is completely removed. The cost for temporary housing during mold remediation can be extensive. And then as far as equipment risks go, if your heating system goes out, obviously that can cause frozen pipes, which can create pipe leaks, which lead to water. And we've already been explained, Chris has explained, Ralph has explained how bad water is inside a home. Water leaks can cause damage to contents, to electronics, and to home electronic and HVAC systems and other complicated home systems. Loss of humidity control obviously can cause mold and mildew. And then there's the liability risk, which most people wouldn't even think about. But if you have guests in your home for an extended period of time, or if you rent your home or condo or co-op out, your renters could complain of sickness, in some cases, serious sickness, respiratory issues due to mold. And that could potentially lead to a lawsuit. So will insurance cover losses due to mold? Typical homeowners insurance policy terms include a definition for mold, which means fungi, mold spores, mycotoxins, and scents, smells, right? Bad smells and other byproducts of these. Mold remediation expense, remediation meaning removal, the cost to remove mold, for a covered cause of loss, I'll explain that, is typically limited on insurance policies, commonly to $20,000 in New York. Now, you can buy additional mold remediation coverage, but it's normally very expensive. And again, most homeowners and realtors are not even aware that the cost for remediating mold is limited on an insurance policy. The mold remediation expense is only paid, meaning that $20,000 is only paid if an exclusion to the policy does not apply. So sudden and accidental leaks like a pipe break, even due to a frozen pipe, a pipe break causing water maybe you're away for a few days and mold results on the drywall. Or you have a fire and the fire department comes and puts water on the fire and that water creates mold. But those are sudden and accidental situations. That type of mold creation is typically covered by the insurance policy for remediation. But that's really not what we've been talking about throughout this presentation. We've been talking about long-term leaks, slow leaks, and moisture in the air. Those types of situations that create mold are typically excluded from insurance. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Let's look at some typical homeowner policy exclusions. These are portions of exclusions extracted right from actual insurance policies, okay? An exclusion for loss by mold, rot, warping, rust, or gradual deterioration. As I explained, if the mold comes from a sudden and accidental water event, that's covered, but mold other than that would be excluded under this exclusion. An exclusion for loss caused by temperature extremes and dampness of air, unless due to snow or rain, right? A rainstorm, a snowstorm causing water in the home, mold, that's covered. But if you've got, temperatures extremes in your home, it's unusually hot and damp all the time, and that creates mold, not covered. Exclusion for continuous or repeated seepage or leakage of water or steam over a period of time, weeks, months, or years from within plumbing, drainage, heating, air conditioning system, fire sprinkler system, or household appliance. This is everything that Ralph just covered, right? He goes into a home and inspects and finds all of these slow leaks that are difficult to see, but that are going on for a period of months or possibly years. Water or moisture from that is not going to be covered if it results in mold. It's not going to be covered by your insurance policy. And an exclusion for wear and tear, deterioration, failure to maintain. So I've already explained sudden and accidental escape of water. That's normally covered. But the thing to understand about insurance is not a substitute for maintaining your home. If you do lack of maintenance, if you do poor maintenance, if you fail to maintain your systems and they break down or don't perform right or leak or what have you, that's not covered by insurance. Insurance covers sudden and accidental events, not your failure to maintain your home. And even if insurance does cover your claim, even if that mold remediation expense of $20,000 or whatever your policy provides for does get triggered, don't forget about your deductible. Most homeowners policies have maybe 500 or 1,000. Oftentimes these days, in order to keep your premium down, we're seeing homeowners go with deductibles of $2,500. Nicer homes, larger homes might have $5,000 or more. And that comes out of your pocket before the insurance kicks in. And what about liability claims for guests or tenants? That could include lawsuits for claims of respiratory illness or ongoing bad odors in the rented property. And that could result in obviously attorney's fees, in settlements, in judgments, which might be covered by insurance. Now, if you have tenants, the insurance company has to be made aware that you are using your home or your apartment as a rental, or coverage for these types of liability situations may actually be jeopardized. The insurance company has to know the purpose of your home. If it's rental, they need to know that. If you don't tell them that, they could potentially try to exclude the claim based on the fact that you misrepresented the purpose of the dwelling. And then the next question is, do you have enough insurance? Landlords and renters should really have at least $1 million umbrella or more. Many times, again, people go into their insurance broker or their insurance agency and they say, I just need insurance, give me the cheapest thing you've got. Well, cheap means less coverage. And you might only have $100,000 of liability coverage. In New York especially, that will not go very far if you are sued, especially if it's for a serious injury like a respiratory condition that got exacerbated due to mold. So make sure to tell your clients to ask their broker how their insurance will respond to mold claims. What is the property policy mold coverage limit? What is the property policy deductible? What are the mold related exclusions? Is there something called equipment breakdown coverage included in the policy that will cover many sudden and accidental breakdowns of a system, like a lightning strike to your home while you're away on a 2-week vacation that causes eventually causes a mold event? That coverage is available and oftentimes can be added. And if you're a landlord, make sure you know what your liability coverage limit is and find out whether or not it should be increased. Most important lessons: don't wait until after a mold claim to discover that your insurance coverage will exclude the claim or that the coverage limits are insufficient. And avoid mold claims by doing what's necessary to maintain indoor air quality and proper humidity. That's the final thought. I mean, it's everything that Chris and Ralph have been discussing. If you do those things and you do them right and well, you're not going to need your insurance and you're not going to have to worry about deductibles and exclusions, etc. So thanks very much for listening, and on we go.
All right. Wow. That was probably the most comprehensive mold and indoor air quality presentation I've ever been to. So that was fantastic. In the interest of time, Mary, how are we doing?
Jason, I think you have to.
We're good. We have time. If people have questions, if you want to just ask them, or you can put them in the chat.
Jason, can you release your screen, please? The screen share, so Dave can get on.
Click stop share.
Yeah, I just got to get, sorry about that. 1 second.
No problem.
Are there any questions at the moment before we start the concluding?
Dave, hi. I and I've had Robeson actually in years past have done some air duct cleaning at my home. Can you just explain like what you do in terms of determining if there is a problem and what you do and how it helps?
Okay, so that actually was what I was going to just conclude with. So if I can show you, should we share screen? How do, yeah, I guess I should share screen. Hold on a minute, let me do that. Okay. So can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically to simplify everything for your clients and for you, because this is how we do it for our customers, Mary, is we have these are very basic tools. They certainly don't go as deep as what Ralph would do when he's at the home for many, many hours. This takes about 45 minutes to an hour for us to get through a house, but it gives us enough of an indication to see if you need to go further. So, I always say if you take an x-ray and you see a broken bone, the doctor's not selling you a cast, I mean, that's what it is and that's what you need. So we kind of look at it. We grab, these are fairly expensive, about $10,000 worth of equipment that we will bring into the house. And we charge about $250 for this, but for real estate brokers that are working with us, we do it for nothing, for free, because we think it's a good, to kind of just leads to what all these guys were talking about today. This is like a quick, obviously, I thought the best slide was that one that shows that your senses will detect bad air. You'll either see it, taste it, smell it. But if you can't, because a lot of times you live in the house and you kind of get used to it, it's nice to get someone in from the outside, even if you're not selling it. So what we'll do is we come in with these 4 basic instruments. This first one is about a $2,500 air particle scanner. And it gives us an indication if there's a problem. There's a meter on it. It registers the particle, volatile organic compound, content, size of the microns in the air. And then if it shows a high amount of that, we would do a further air test to maybe break down what it is. But generally speaking, it usually relates to bad air filter, all the things that we spoke about before. So we can see that with this air particle count. If it's too high, we know you have one of those problems that we talked about. The other thing we'll come in with is relates directly to your question is the duct cleaning. Again, you know, you never know what's in your ducts. I don't believe that you should be selling people these things. So we come in and we'll put this camera through your ductwork. And it's pretty similar to what you'll see at your doctor's office. And we just, you know, put it down through the ductwork and we see everything. And you could be there and you'll see it on the monitor and you'll say, oh my God, I need to clean my ducts. Or you'll say, I don't need to clean my ducts. Same thing here with this instrument, measures temperature and humidity in every room. Again, if you're over, you saw the chart, if you're over 50% or under 50%, you can start getting problems. So we go room to room and we just tell you, hey, you're over or under. And then we can talk about further remediation. And then this, of course, is the infrared camera, which, you know, you could see it with air quality by seeing leaks. So if you have air flowing in through your crawl spaces and up into the house, it's bringing in all those spores and everything that's lingering down in the crawl space. So we want to get to that on an air quality level. And of course, you want to get to that on an energy efficiency level. So it's pretty basic scientific instruments that have caught up with this. You know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I mean, the infrared camera was $16,000, you know, 10 years ago. Now it's $3,000. So as we get closer to better equipment, we can do better diagnostics. So that's how we do it. Other than that, the guys touched on most of the important stuff, the whole house systems, ventilation, filtration, humidification. As a review, we have the filter sizes, which are very important to understand. You know, filters come in these sizes here on the right. You can see that when you go to Home Depot. I mean, we pointed out that that 1-inch filter, you know, down here in the MERV 5 doesn't get very much. You want to be up here in the MERV 13 and better, and you'll start catching bacteria and spores and viruses. When you get to MERV 16, Aprilaire makes a beautiful system that catches viruses. And then we saw the humidity problems, too dry, not good, too hot, too moist, worse. So you really need to get your humidity under control. And that's really the concept of the whole presentation. I hope everybody learned something.
Thanks, Dave. I'm just looking in the chat. Got some comments. Thank you for a great presentation. Very, very comprehensive and really something that we don't think about all the time, but we really need to think about, because especially with the air conditioning on, we're all inside, we're breathing all this air, and then we're thinking, wow, I wonder if it's healthy. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Hey, Mary, I'd just like to add something. I'm Chad Hanna with Robeson as well. This is for our realtor partners, and we truly view as our partners. This is a service that we will offer for free to your clients. So, you know, the coming in, looking with the inspection of the ducts and things like that, of that nature, that's complimentary on us because of our relationship with you. So just give us a call and say that you need access to speak to someone in HSA, and they will they'll come in gladly and schedule an appointment.
Great, and I just wanted to let everyone know that we are recording this presentation, and we will be sending out the recording maybe hopefully this afternoon. If not, then tomorrow morning. I do have a question. It says, how much does a whole house ventilation system cost?
The question, it's a good question, but these things are generally done in zones. So it depends how many zones and how big the house, all these things are different. But, you know, I did have a diagram of what that would look like. I'm just going to quickly share that. So this is what the system would look like. If you look on the right here. So this is a machine, this instrument here measures the indoor air quality, the CO2 content within the house. It's a meter, just like a thermostat. And it'll open up a vent and it'll bring fresh air, put it right into your air conditioning system and blow it through the house. This is another Aprilaire product. So it really does need to be measured depending on the size and how many units you have and how we can get to all the rooms. But there is, you know, there's a ratio of how many times you want to be able to turn the clean air over in the house. If any of the technical guys want to jump in and answer that question, but there is a safe number that they go for in terms of turning over every hour.
Yeah, David, I'll jump in and speak to that. It's exactly that, and it is relevant to the house. So the way the logic is built into that controller is specifically to the house requirements and how much air is coming in to meet the air changes required to look at a healthier home. Typically what we see is about 5 to 7 air changes per day is acceptable for a healthy home. That all depends on the tightness too. So there's a lot that goes into it, and David, you nailed it. Really, it does come down to the inspection of the home, the requirements, and what one or more systems can do for it. That's a great question.
There's another question here. It says, what is the fine line for proper filter for a home HVAC? Higher MERV limits airflow, yet lower MERV doesn't capture toxins. Anybody want to
unmute? Yeah, we've had that issue often, you know, where somebody will oversell the filters because, and the system really can't handle it. But what we find is with the 5-inch filters, particularly the April air and around, I'm trying to get my chart up down here, but around, where are we here? So this is a MERV 16, this system, and it's pleated, and the airflow is pretty good. Chris can jump in on that, but we generally, you know, out of the box around here, 12 and 13, we're pretty happy with the stuff you can get in here, a 5-inch, pretty simple system. But Chris, maybe you want to talk about what restrictions start to appear when you get too big, or if they appear at all.
Yeah, when you start to think about MERV, so MERV is pretty much, I guess, simple analogy, like the miles per gallon. So the higher the MERV, the more efficient it is at capturing the smaller particles. So when you see the 96% of virus-sized particles for MERV 16, that's how many times it's capturing those size particles on the first pass. Now, it goes back to the slide where we talked about we need to make sure that we're maximizing airflow, because as you do improve on the MERV rating, you can compromise the airflow. And that's where really the analysis of what size filter meets the needs of adequate airflow and the efficiency. So to say that a MERV 16 can go into every home, that could be a true statement, but there isn't one specific size that would go into every home, because we want to look at that pressure that's needed. And I think I did see a quick question. I just wanted to jump in about apartments and condos. A lot of it is similar, whether we're talking about ventilation, humidification, or even air cleaning. The challenges are we don't have the room that we would have in a single family home. A lot of apartments are in these little closets, and it does make it challenging. However, I'm not saying that it can't be done, because we do it all over, especially ventilation. We do it all over the United States in apartments and condos.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank all of you, all of our panelists, and I want to thank Dave and Robeson for a really great and informative presentation. We will be sending the recording around later today or tomorrow morning. And everyone go out and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon on our next Breakfast with Benefits. Okay, goodbye everyone.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.